Welcome to West Nile Sports for the third episode of the live show. I'm very sure you enjoyed the past episodes. Yet we again here with exclusive entertainment that will come with a short musical break where DJ Dranix will be mixing and pumping the bass line. The best DJ we have got in Uganda. I've got Kimnaz with me around the table. How are you, Kimnaz?
I'm good. Quite fantastic.
There are greetings coming that West Nile Sports is doing so well and you are being appreciated, plus the whole team.
Yeah, from social media and other platforms, I was able to get that. I felt extremely excited because at the end of the day, we needed this. I think like earlier from the introduction part, we were able to say that this has come to stay and never shall we change this very, very soon. We are good to go.
We are talking about West Nile players and some of the international sports will be coming towards your way. We are starting with one of the son of the soil, that is Philbert Obenchan, who has been in the ranks of KCCA, but now he is out of contract. The question is, should he sign a new contract? He shouldn't, or what should he do? We will start with a point how Kimnaz thinks he has summed up his life at KCCA in terms of playing in the pitch.
Thank you very much once more, and you as well, the viewer. I want to say I appreciate you. Straight to your question about Obenchan Philbert. To me, Obenchan Philbert has been one of the best, that is, young or upcoming players in Ugandan football. To me, I look at him as an upcoming player simply because he still has a lot to deliver in Ugandan football and as well to the world. If you look at Obenchan Philbert right now, he's only 23 years of age, and this is the lad who has been used by KCCA not regularly due to one or two other factors. But then I think injuries played a very big part as well in his that is letting him down. But then the biggest issue has been Mike Hilary Mutebi, whom I think is his coach. Of course, if you look at how he started football and where he is right now, you'll think there was always that positive graph for him. But at this very point, I think at KCCA, he's not that first choice as a centre-back. You still have the likes of John Revita, though he's out injured. You have a certain Peter Magombo, very tall, very lanky, as well, doing quite well. This season, the just concluded season, though prematurely, he has been very fantastic. I'm talking about Peter Magombo. So that brings in the question of whether Obenchan Philbert should still stay at the club. In line with your question, I think it's time for him to move because I strongly believe in players' mobility. At the end of the day, if things do not work out for you at this particular place, you definitely have to try elsewhere. So if you look at the rumors surrounding him being linked to the move away from KCCA, there are clubs like Azam FC from Tanzania who have as well talked about him. I think it's high time he makes a move.
If you talk about players like Musa Magambo, you talk about John Revita, what makes Hilary Mutebi to pick those players ahead of Philbert Obenchan?
Obenchan Philbert is a very good player, a very hard-working player, but his one or two factors always let him down. If you look at his career, at some point he was loaned off from KCCA Academy, he was loaned away to Simba. So from that period, I thought coming back to KCCA was going to be actually an eye-opener for him, and as well he will be breaking through. But little did I know the likes of Peter Magombo were going to stand on his way. But now, KCCA brought in John Revita from Express at a time when the man we're talking about, Obenchan Philbert, was at the club. So that sent me a message. By the time John Revita was crossing from Express or Mutesatu Stadium, Wankrukuku to Lugogo, that was to me a strong statement by KCCA that Obenchan Philbert will never be the first choice that is centre half in the year or 1-2 years to come. So it comes in as the reason as to why I feel it's high time for him to move. But if you look at the other players we have talked about, Peter Magombo and John Revita, them being ahead of him, to me, doesn't surprise because Mike Hilary Mutebi has always loved players who are versatile, across the line or back line. But if you look at Obenchan Philbert, with his character of being a very calm gentleman, I think picking other players ahead of him, he won't register any complaint. So he has been that calm gentleman. So Peter Magombo probably will want to feature ahead of him and has as well proved him because the guys have been so good. If you look at the central defense partnership of Peter Magombo and John Revita, I think the two guys have been undisputed. You will think that they deserve to be the starters. That's why, to me, I think Obenchan Philbert's development was affected somehow by the bringing in of John Revita. If he was loaned out, even for this season, this just concluded season, if he was loaned away maybe to any other club like URA, you talk about Marut, trust me, that was going to be a good platform for Obenchan Philbert, the West Nile boy, to prove himself.
Even when Mike Hilary Mutebi prefers some centre-backs ahead of Philbert Obenchan, he has scored crucial goals and some people have applauded him for being a warrior for KCCA. but he has not replicated that so much with the drum team.
It comes back to the potential he saw from the initial stages. Many thought from having been loaned to Simba but not being let go or offloaded was a statement that KCCA was still having a lot more hopes on him. But now he featured for KCCA. He has not been that consistent fixture in their team. And again, playing for West Nile Province, you will think that for West Nile Province, he has not done what actually many expected from him, despite the potential you talked about.
What could be the problem?
I talked about injury. That to me is one issue. And particularly for West Nile Province, I think KCCA as well at some point stopped some players from joining the camp for West Nile Province. I remember there was that period when KCCA, when West Nile Province needed the likes of Gift Ali Gigi, the likes of Sadat Anak, including Mustafa Chiza and even Obenchan Philbert himself. But KCCA had a lot more other engagements. Remember, they have been playing at the top level in African football. That is the CAF Champions League. They featured in the CAF Confederations Cup. That limited Obenchan Philbert's time with West Nile Province team. And if you again look at West Nile Province team, the time he was being summoned, there were as well other West Nile defenders who were doing quite well. Toha Rashid in the second edition of the FUFA drum, he was not out injured. So he was fantastic. Then you looked at other central defenders who were used, the likes of Mohamed Rashid. That to me limited the chances of Obenchan Philbert playing for West Nile Province. And again, you will think that the coach, that is for West Nile Province, Abdallah Loi, by then, though not currently, he also had his own reservations about Obenchan Philbert.
Yeah. There are some hidden things that kept coming out, because people always talk that whenever the drum team is in the camp, players overspeak Lugbara. Yet this is West Nile. When you have players in the camp, to create chemistry, you need players speaking English, because I may have Obenchan is from Nebi.
Yeah.
When he comes over here and you and I speak Kimnaz Mingoni, blah blah, he may not easily fit into the creating a chemistry with a fellow player. Do you think something like that could affect Philbert Obenchan in case it's true?
It actually depends. It depends on the character, the character of the player. Because if you look at the West Nile Province team, there are quite a number of Aluru players in that team. The likes of Romtan Villa played for West Nile Province as well. He's a West Nile, we all know, from Nebi. Then the likes of this striker, Aban Cromwell, exactly. He has been very fantastic for West Nile Province. Exactly. Khalid Odagwe of Paida Blackens, who's played in that position as well in one of the central defenders. So if they were not being limited or affected quite well by the influence of the Lugbara speaking or the Lugbara language that is being spoken in the camp, then why should it only be attributed to Obenchan Philbert? Unless his character does not actually mingle so well, unless if he's not that social enough to interact with the rest of the players. But that to me is a minor factor. If only he took it like in a professional way, because we have seen players across Europe being signed from Africa. You don't speak that European English, but at the end of the day, you're in United Kingdom playing for West Ham United, where majority of the players play the home English, the domestic English. So if you take such factors to haunt your career, probably it's an unfortunate incident. But for Obenchan Philbert, maybe it played a part, like you say.
Okay, there are players also within West Nile. What's the next step for them? We have got players playing in the StarTimes Uganda Premier League, but now you have got clubs that are being relegated from StarTimes Uganda Premier League. Maroons FC have been relegated from StarTimes Uganda Premier League. Proline have been relegated from StarTimes Uganda Premier League. Toro United as well have been relegated. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you do have West Nile players participating in all these clubs. What next for them? Let's start with Maroon Football Club, where Agau Rashid, there is Olega Caesar and Amako Fred who play for this club. Now this club is relegated. Let's start with Agau. Is it a coincidence that you don't see Agau consistently playing for another club and, giving his best, maybe getting recognized? He always cuts short the good work. What could be the problem?
To me, Agau's issue is personal. Yeah, Agau's issue is personal. Not very many coaches would love to work with Agau Rashid. It is the reason as to why at Onduparaka Football Club, he left the club at a time when they had one of the best coaches in Ugandan football. That was Charles Livingstone Babazi. If Charles Livingstone Babazi doesn't want to work with a player, then you know there's one or two factors, or there are a few other factors which are not good enough with this player. Maybe it's personal. Particularly for Agau Rashid, Maroons being relegated to me wasn't a surprise, because from the start of the season, I was actually in one of the radio shows in the local radios within. I did say that before even the season got to to kick off, I remember saying that Maroons would be one of the sides relegated. But at the end of the day, maybe if I'd gone to a betting company and stake my money, maybe I was going to be a billionaire by now. But coming back to the Agao Rashid incident, I think one factor is the one I talked about. He's a very lazy player. That is Agao Rashid. The few times I had with Agao Rashid, he's my personal friend. But then I got to learn from him that his work ethics is not actually to the expectation.
So basically, you're saying with all these movements up and down, having rubbing bad shoulders with people, the problem is Agao, not the clubs.
It's to me 60% it's Agao Rashid. Agao Rashid will need to consider one or two factors. One, if he is to play consistently for a team. Remember, for Maroons this season, he scored like 7 goals. That to me was a very fantastic return. But a player of Agao's caliber, you will think even needed to be rubbing shoulders with the creme de la cremes, maybe rubbing shoulders for the top gong as far as goal scoring chart is concerned. But he has limited himself to only 7 goals under Douglas Bamoyana, the former Maroons coach.
Let's go to the next players. They play for Proline Soccer Club. That is Joseph Mandela, who has been captain at Proline FC for some good number of time, and he has been one of those loyal players. Every time Proline went down, he went with them, and he has always been there for them. Let's start with Joseph Mandela. Is it time for him to leave? That Proline has gotten down there, that people think he's getting addicted to relegation and playing up there, getting the team back. At some point, he has not been getting game time. Is it the right time for him to move away?
There's a saying that if you have not tasted a food cooked by any other woman, you'll think that your mother is actually the best cook. It's high time for Joseph Mandela to actually move away from Proline. That is according to me, because all these years, remember, they were in the same team with the likes of Bayo Fahad, who went to Zambia, played there and came back this time round with Vipers. Then the same team with the likes of Gift Ali Gigi, who has moved several clubs before coming to KCCA, where he is right now. I think it is high time Joseph Mandela has to make a move away from Proline, because it becomes a little bit annoying. A talent of his caliber getting addicted to relegation and promotion at the same time. Where will he end with this football? Because football is now a business. Football is a business now. This is one thing our West Nile players have lacked for quite some time. That mindset, that mentality, that perception is what they've been lacking. But then if they get to grow, to understand that football is actually business, it's not something you just play to entertain people, but it's beyond that, then it's high time Joseph Mandela has to understand that. He's a very good player. Over the years he has been with Proline. I think that gave him one big advantage, the leadership skills, because he has been the captain for Proline. That has earned him the skills of being a leader. So if he moves to a club, probably within Uganda Premier League, I think he will do better. And again, it will open for him way for other better things. Because I don't see, with the little time or few times he moved with Proline to play at the continental level, that to me never exposed him that much. If he moved to a club like Vipers, moved to a club like KCCA,
and in those games he was on the bench.
Exactly. So that brings in the question of why are you there? Yeah, that one comes through.
Okay, let's go to the next player. That is Alfred Leko, the beast. With Onduparaka Football Club, tried and left, joined Express, left Express, went to Botswana. He is now with Proline. What's an interview recently where he said, even if Proline were not relegated, he still was going to leave Proline because he felt he was being mistreated. And I think this complaint has been all over. When he left Onduparaka FC, somewhere in the corridors, he said he was not happy because he felt he was mistreated. Then in Botswana, I'm sure he has encountered things that made him leave that place and come back to Uganda. At Express, he also raised a complaint that he thinks the coaches do not like him so much. Why is it always him complaining?
It comes back to his personal behaviors, yeah? If you talk about a player who moves to more than 5 clubs, like if I go down to history, he played for Vipers. He played for Express Football Club.
Yes.
He played for Nduparaka Football Club. Now with Proline. He moved to Botswana, played for 2 clubs. Where he went was Galaxy, and he was loaned away.
Exactly.
Then when he came back, the club couldn't accommodate him and let him go, and that was the time he came back to Uganda. So this movement to me brings in the question of finding a home. It's high time Alfred Leku needs to find a home where he's going to be that top-notch striker, or that striker they will rely on. By coming to Express, I thought that was actually where he actually found, to me, he had already found a home. Remember that last-minute goal he scored that actually made Express to survive relegation.
Yes.
There was that period when Express even went to the extent of having a Save Express campaign. It was a very terrible time for the Red Eagles. But it was the West Nile boy who saved them from that terrible situation, that big shame of being relegated, being one of the giants in Ugandan football. So Express had them been relegated. So coming back to Leku Alfred, where our talk is based, I think it is high time Leku Alfred needs to find a home, needs to find a club where he can play, let's say, for the whole season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
How will he find a home every time he's trying to look for the weakness of the home? At times you need to ignore the weakness of the home. Every home has got weaknesses.
It comes back to what I said.
Playing is not like you are just simply going to enjoy yourself, the ups and downs in everything you do. So I think for me, he again needs to control his emotions.
It comes back to what I said. Remember, I did talk about his personal behavior.
Yes.
Going back to the drawing board, trying to find out, because if you fight with 10 neighbors, then the problem is you, not the neighbor.
Okay.
So it comes back to how is he going to adjust to make sure that he fits or gets acclimatized to the situations within these clubs.
Let's move to the next player. That is Stephen Omvia. Did you know that Stephen Omvia is a West Niler? He plays for Toro United. Way in Fort Porto. Toro United as well got relegated. Quick one about Stephen Omvia. Where next should he remain at this club, or he has got the ability to get a club, maybe move to KCCA or maybe move to Vipers?
In Stephen Omvia, I always see a former Brazil striker, that is Hulk, very gigantic, well built. Maybe you'll also relate his body or outlook or to Adriano, also former of Brazil. Very
Marlon Harewood,
exactly. Marlon Harewood, the former of West Ham, a very well-built boy. Romelu Lukaku of Ugandan football. Now playing with Toro United. I remember there was that goal he scored against Proline when he went screaming all over, running and pulling off the shirt and being given the yellow card. That is not the issue to talk about right now. Stephen Omvia is a very good player as far as being a bully is concerned. We have seen teams, according to different philosophies or traditions of the coaches, who will always want to have a striker well-built, physical presence in the box. If a coach is looking for that quality, then in Stephen Omvia, there is always that quality. Very tall, very lanky. Maybe you just add a few things on him to make sure he starts notching those goals with the head, because he has the physical presence in the box. Probably he will be bullying, just like Alfred. A few goals he has scored, he has been bullying defenders so well. So if a coach is looking for that quality, probably Stephen Omvia is a big asset to Ugandan football. But now he's playing with Toro United and they're being relegated. So what next for him? I don't think if KCCA with Mike Hilary Mutebi will go for a player of his caliber. I don't think if URA will be going for a player of his caliber. I don't think if Vipers are going to be looking for a presence like him, because they have a certain Fahad Bayo, very tall, very lanky, doing his things right there. So the likes of Shabana as well still on the bench. They are, I mean, not on the bench, but out injured. Probably you'll expect them to get back and have the starting berth. So it's going to be quite difficult for Stephen Omvia, but he's a very good player. It depends on who or which coach is going to be picking him for a certain particular club. But playing in the big league, I think, will not be a very good thing for him, because at the end of the day, and with his age, where he is right now, probably he needs better.
Okay, viewers, we are here at Electra. Tonight we are at Electra. If you want to advertise, you can get to us. We'll always give you the mileage that you need. You know the Freeboy song, Kwata Simu?
Yeah, I've heard it. I've seen the video. The video is good. Recently, I watched him and winning Nwaji. Something nice. It's good to say West Nile also topping charts in the various musical shows across the country. So
let's promote West Nile talent in all sectors. But right now we are here for the Football Motors Theatre. Let's cross to Doves All Stars. After Ian Kimnaz had a lengthy talk about players being relegated with their team. What's next for them? We finish that, and then I'm getting you in for Doves All Stars. When they got a sponsorship, probably one of the biggest sponsorship you get in a FUFA Big League, there was that hype. What happened?
Yeah, surely when Doves All Stars got the big sponsorship, it became Aziz Daman All Stars. And there was a lot of hype. I mean, the morals were high. We saw new coaches come through. They had fantastic kids. I mean, they are in the West Nile region. They are competing next to next to Onduparaka in terms of facilitation. We thought this was the next big thing. Of course, as the adage goes, once you're given good things, the way you handle them matters a lot. I thought they were given a huge cake, and they couldn't bite the whole piece of the cake. So that is where the whole problem began for Doves All Stars. Good facilities. I mean, they had a good transportation. You know, the big league. Transportation is one of the issues. Damani gave them good transportation. Facilitation was on point. I think they got Bagole as a good coach. Players. Football, it's about players. I think the first season, the quality of players they had.
You talk about Bongole being a good coach.
Bongole, yes.
But there are several complaints about Bongole at the Doves All Stars. I think several players were very unhappy. With a few people I interacted there as well, unhappy. At some point, the fans organized, say they wanted to push him to the club. What makes you think that he was a good coach?
You know, coaching comes with the backroom staff. And one of the challenges he had was his association of coming with certain players. He came with certain players, and, you know, and the transition from Doves to Aziz Daman had a lot of issues in the background, by the way. The issue of ownership, and a couple of fans did not understand this issue of transition of Doves All Stars to Doves All Stars Aziz Daman. There was the addition of Aziz Damani to Doves All Stars. This had the issue. Of course, the coaching came with who plays, how they play, the tactics. With the money came expectations. The expectations of the fans were high. The quality of the players he brought. I remember there was the issue of which players were playing. We had the players in the calibers of Charlie. How they were played in the team. Virtually, Charlie ended up in Paida. Black Angels. So there are a couple of issues surrounding it. Leaving that aside, the issue of Doves All Stars and being facilitated by Aziz Damani, for me, was the major issue. How did they handle? We have talked about football and management of the available resources. That is where Aziz Damani had the money. Who runs the show? The CEO Musoke was sitting in Kampala and calling the shots from Arua. In Arua here, there was a young lawyer in the background who was a technical director, literally running the show.
But when you talk about the mismanagement, they managed to travel for games, right? They managed to pay players. They managed to pay allowances of players. Then, you know, every entity has got loopholes.
Football is about results. You may have the best.
So where were the results if Bongole was a good coach?
First of all, eventually Bongole left the position. Eventually, due to pressure, he left the position. Came in a new management. Eventually, the interim coach left. Came in Haruna Mawa. Haruna Mawa came in. He co-opted Sizo Kuti. He co-opted Mambo. Who was once on the Paraka under 20 coach. Those were in last season. These were the coaching staff co-opted. There was Onama, who was co-opted into. Actually, when Bagole left, there was the interims were Adiga from Ondo Paraka and Onama. It was Arua Soccer Academy. They are the ones who took the interim. So that when they call him Pep Morris Adiga. And my friend Onama took over from Bagola and started managing the team. There came issues. Of course, Adiga had some disciplinary issues with the team. That's how eventually he was kicked out. Then Onama took an interim position.
Was it a disadvantage to have Adiga in that team?
It plays both. It was an advantage in a way that...
Okay, having it both is with everyone.
Yes. The advantage was results were somehow coming through. How he got the results.
So the results spoke for themselves that Adiga was a mistake to be appointed.
Yes, his method. His method of operations sometimes come into question.
But he said he was not given ample time to see whether his method works or not. Of course, sometimes you don't really say that it's a day that my philosophy and how I run the club functions within 3 or 4 games. Why was he not given extra game time to prove whether his system works or not?
When you've invested money, you need returns. It's just like how Man City went, when take the instance of European football, how Man City changed coaches over a period of time with with wanting quick results. You know, when the Arab money was injected in Man City, they wanted changes so quick. When money was injected in PSG, they wanted changes so quick. That's why they are moving around. But you realize locally here, once Adiga and Onama took charge of the team, a number of changes occurred. So in these changes, the playing style, the kind of the players they wanted into the team, all these changes. And you know, in football, with change in management comes change of playing tactics,
character,
off-pitch characters, on-pitch characters. All these are incorporated into this kind of, and you see it on the pitch. But
they phased out Adiga Morris, then brought in
the Aruna Mawa, co-opted in Sizo Kuti, co-opted in Mambo.
And still it never worked.
Yeah, the first quarter didn't work. Probably they are looking at the second half of the season, which of course came to an end because of the COVID scenario. But you would see that slowly by slowly again, the team was progressing. You'd see some few changes. Look at the characters of the persons recruited to do this job again. It is something for you. I always say, and I will always attribute this, the characters of the coaches translate to the way they play on the pitch. That has a very big influence on how a team performs. Generally, and last season, the monies were reduced. In the background, from sources, it is said
the budget was chopped.
The budget was chopped because the previous seasons, the monies were not well accounted for. The accountability flaws. So this time, last season, Aziz Daman was not as powerful as were the previous season because of cut in the budget. There was a cut in budget. Of course, they got some good players, the likes of Olu. And remember, the previous season, they had like 2-3 loanees from Onduparaka. This season, you don't see the loanees. They had the likes of Gibson, who had a fantastic game. Mokosa now, both of them are fasting players at Onduparaka, had fantastic loan spells with the Doves All-Stars. They had, this season, they had a Dema, who probably is not giving them the returns in terms of goals. But you would see a Doves struggling. No wonder when you look at how they finished the league, they are number 6 on the log, I should say.
What's the way forward?
The way forward, as everyone has always said, football first begins with the backroom management. Who is responsible? There should be clear division of roles. The media officer should know his job. The public relation of the club should know his job. Who is the club chairman? You cannot have a technical director acting as a CEO. You should have, the CEO should be the CEO, the technical director should be the technical director, the chairman of the club should be the chairman of the club. Instead of having, there are roles overlapping, and that is where you find the importance of some of these courses. We call them FAMACO. That's the importance of football management. Helps you to understand how do you run, who is responsible for what. I think if the way forward for Doves All-Stars is if they can be able to structure administratively, then they will be able to build it on the pitch. Otherwise, if they don't do it,
so for you, you think the biggest problem is the administrative structure, not the technical bench or something of that kind?
I think the technical bench is good. I believe in the potential of Arunama. When you look at his CV, it talks for itself.
How about
Somalia was with the Victoria?
How about the reduction of their budget? Don't you think it's still going to affect them if they keep, there's having the good administration, good technical bench, but reduced budget?
I know at the big level, first of all, at the big league level, you are not, when you look at the FIFA rules, you don't necessarily need to have contracts for all players. It says you should have a problem, of 5 players on licenses. So the other players probably might not be on licenses, on contract, I should say. Yes, we can have the licenses, but on contract, which means 70 or 60% of the players might not be, you might not be tied to them. So you might probably have the most important players on contract, which means the cut in budget might not affect how the players are motivated. Probably, if you understand what you want, you will just improve on their allowances, probably, to motivate them. That is how the big league actually operates. You realize the requirement, the new changes might need probably all the players in the big league, but the requirement is in the Elite League, the Star Times League, where all players must be on contract. from the big league to the regional league, you not necessarily need all players on contract. Actually, when you look at the leagues like the 4th division, you don't need players on contract. The regional league, you might need 2-3 players on contract. But the others, so the budget comes, the cut in budget comes with how the management. So now it goes back to how you manage the team. Who are these players you bring on board? Okay? So the players you bring on board play an important role in how you run. For me, first, clean the house. Management must be clean. Then you go to the players. I know there's Aruna Mawa is fantastic. Siso Kuti will use his experience as a backroom staff to groom some players. You have Mambo who has had his good coaching experience. He could do the best to get the best out of Aziz Daman players. Actually, I was disappointed in their finishing in the league. Their finishing in the league is, for me, 70% attributed to the challenges they had from the back room.
By the way, for viewers, Doves All-Stars plays in Start Times of FUFA Big League. They have been craving to get to Start Times Uganda Premier League, but it has been failing for them. Maybe what West Nile Sports has presented here can help them at some point. We are shifting to the next point. It's the facility upgrade in football. These days, when you don't have a well-upgraded facility, it's not right for you to play soccer or any sport, because we are looking at a standard that can be broadcast live for some people to watch. And it's what Start Times Uganda Premier League, the TV, has been encouraging people to have flat surface, green surface, and, protection for players to have perimeter fence. You are pushing a team to get to another level, but where is the facility? Well, let's discuss about the facility issue in our area. We have seen the federation coming up with, rules that you need to have toilets, you need to have a perimeter fence, you need to have this. But you have so many teams outside here in West Nile trying to, push the boys to get to another level, minus these facilities. I was yet to understand that Nyarlo ground is being worked on, and there is another ground within Koboko called Ombachi, which is being targeted to be built as a stadium. Let's discuss about the facility. How important is it for the small clubs to embark on this?
Of recent, facilities have become a problem. The problem begins from FUFA. First of all, FUFA, as the association running football, doesn't have its own stadium. They have a technical center in Njeru.
Sometimes Nambole at some point for rescue.
It's not theirs.
Yes, just for rescue.
For rescue, they run to Nambole. But of course, the start is the technical center in Njeru. Let us drop down to our region. The other day, Pakwachi, there's a small pitch they're trying to rehabilitate. The COVID is trying to help them. I mean, the COVID pandemic era, one of the benefits is that it helps us to rehabilitate our small pitches. Nyarlo, as you said, Nyarlo is being rehabilitated, planting grass and all the other things. You talked about Ombachi. Yes, there's a plan to build a stadium in Ombachi. That is in Koboko. So a project which was started in the 70s by the former president, the late Idi Amin. Something was started. They're actually building on what was already started. Coming to the region, look at our primary schools. A lot of land grabbers are grabbing pitches, primary school field grounds. And so our facilities, look at I will take you the closest, look at Greenlight Stadium. Looks very beautiful, green, around this time it's growing. You go to Aruako PTC, they call it the Bishop's Ground. It's fairly looking green. These are grounds which we are maintaining. But as the district, as the region, what do we have? A dilapidated, actually I even feel disgusted to call it, they call it Dokas Injikuru Stadium.
Barifa.
Renamed, it's called Barifa. Barifa would, actually calling it Dokas Injikuru is a disgrace to her name because you will go there, it's in a shambolic state. Let us call it Barifa. What do you see? You totally see nothing. But the small institutions are trying to build. Nyarlo is being used by 3-4 pitches, clubs as their home ground. Teams are used as it.
Who is responsible for this? Is it the guys who play football, people who own football clubs? Who is responsible for this?
First of all, the people who own football clubs should, by the time you're trying to own a football club, you must have where to train. You must have a facility. One of the requirements to own a football club or to have a football club is a pitch. So the football people who manage football must have where to own a pitch.
So you're saying the district
associations, the football associations, do not even have what they call their pitches because they are responsible for managing football. The bigger districts should actually have their own.
At least
one. We have bomber grounds. Police ground in Arua is gone. It is where you park now impounded vehicles. In Arua, you go to a primary school, Arua Primary. In Germany, the influx of refugees has also played a very positive role. I went there, I saw Paridi Stadium. At least the donor partners have done something to build Paridi. It's looking nice. When I was passing through from Germany coming to Arua, I saw they call it Chele Stadium. It looked dilapidated. I hope they have improved it. That is for Moyo as a district. But when you come to smaller districts like Maracha, they don't have anywhere. They rely on someone. You're now going to a new district like Nebi. Nebi has no pitch. They rely on a secondary school's football pitch as their
close to the road.
Close to the road. So what? It's again a question. The district association, as a region, West Nile region football association, where is their football pitch? Because they manage football for the region. They will tell you none. In Yumbe, where does the DFA? So it is a question of the district associations as well as the owners of the football clubs. But you should appreciate the small efforts these schools are doing. For example, I know Greenlight Stadium belongs to a school. They have an agreement.
Yes.
Nyarlo belongs to a primary school. So many clubs are using it. They are using St. Charles Luanga pitch. When you go to Nebi, they are using a pitch of a school. So the schools actually are playing a very important role in sustaining football in the region. But what are we doing as a region to build? I know there's a project within Arua which is taking place, a stadium. So how does it benefit us? These are questions we'll answer.
Let's think about the facilities and make it as a consideration that they are one of the best things as to start with. Don't only think of starting a football club, because you may start it, you may go up there, but you'll not have a platform where to play. It wouldn't be nice dragging a club from West Nile to play in the eastern side. Where will you get the facilitation and the money to keep yourself within? So let's think about the facilities. We want to thank the youth who are trying to green up Nyarlo Primary Ground. We want to thank the other one of Pakwach is called. There's another one which is being worked on. So we thank them so much for whatever they are doing. We are getting back to talk about a very huge project that is being handled by Aita Joel. And we are having a high-profile stadium being built in Arua. We shall have a say about that. Let's go for a quick break. Welcome from that break. I remember we are at Electra. After the lockdown, when the bars will be open, it's the first place where to be, Electra. And if you want to advertise, you can always get to us. And we be in business and we give you mileage. We want to give our special thanks to Oswa Arts, weddings and so on, photo shoot, whatever you want to cover, videography or photography, they're always available for you. We talked about the facility upgrade in our own land, that is West Nile, because it's one of the things we tend to ignore. Now that we are reminding you, it's one of the important things. Good enough that we have the main man, Aita Joel, having a big, huge project constructing Arua Hill Stadium. The question that is coming from other people is that when you hear that there's a bank hall, there's a swimming pool, there's a hospital, something like that, people say, do you think this project is for football, or someone is thinking of making money from the outlets that are being constructed, the bank halls and so on?
Yes, thank you very much. Talking about that project of Arua Hill, of course, been initiated and worked on by the Joada Consults under Aita Joel. I think it's quite a good project, but like you said, with the look of things, quite a number of questions keep coming through from the public. Already rumors coming on that it's more of a business stuff, business projects or business facilities been put up. But I think football as well, or sports itself, is as well business. So if a project like that comes and it's been worked on, to me, I look at different angles that is under which I study the whole thing. Despite the fact that many people have come up speaking about it being more of a business thing, but I think sport itself being a business thing, I think all in all, it's something that is probably going to change the infrastructural development, or something that's going to change the whole face of West Nile sports. Because at the end of the day, many clubs are going to be playing in that facility. If you look at how it's been put out, like a few times I've been there, trying to see how the work is going on and what exactly is being made out from that project. You will see there's a plain surface. I'm meant to understand, after consulting Aita Joel himself, clearly stated that it's going to be an artificial turf, which is going to be the first of its kind in West Nile. And if that is to be true, then it's a big development. It's a huge thing. Why would I complain of a business, or why would I complain of a bank being put up there, ATM machines being aligned on the other side, car parking yards being put somewhere? Why should I complain of all this when I know that the spectators who come to watch, let's say, athletics, who come to watch football, who come to watch basketball,
they end up getting services within.
Exactly. All the services are just going to be within their reach. To me, it's a big project.
Now, let's talk about, of course, we are now looking at football in a business perspective. That players need to get paid. Players need to get their sign-on fees. You need to pay the administrators. That's the level where football has reached. But it's not a level that has reached across the world. Look at where we are. Let's take an example. And I'm very optimistic about that the field is going to be rented. How many clubs can afford to rent a pitch and play over there? Locally here.
Locally here, okay, there's a lot that Aita Joel himself actually definitely needs to respond to, because he knows more about that project than me. Time and again, I've always made efforts to reach him, which I think West Nile Sports will definitely give us the platform to really access him, if possible, even to bring him for the show, so that he's able to explain to us how the local clubs will actually afford. Because I'm meant to understand that the playing surface will be owned by the municipality. So if that is true, what are going to be the procedures for hiring out this facility? That's the playing surface. And again, there are people who are coming in to get a business. There is offices, organizations are booking offices in that, those structures put in place. So how are they going to all attain it? So I think Aita Joel has a lot to explain to the public, to explain to the world, to know, because because we can't develop the city ourselves. So the city needs foreigners, it needs the natives, it needs all this collective effort to make sure a city becomes a city. So I think Aita Joel has a very huge responsibility, maybe through West Nile Sports, to explain to the entire world how this will benefit the business community, how it will benefit the footballers themselves, how it will benefit the athletes, and even the basketballers, the rugby players in the future, and a few others, even the academies. Because at the end of the day, if there is going to be a football academy in West Nile, maybe they'll also hire that pitch to have their game. What about the biggest stage? If it's a standard stadium, if it's a standard stadium, then a friendly game between Uganda and Nigeria can possibly be played in such a facility.
And then it ends up giving the locals, business boosts.
Exactly.
If Nigeria, in Uganda, specifically in Arua, you get to watch the Nigerians around.
You'll expect even the Congolese to flood it.
Exactly. So another question some people are pondering and asking is that the artificial turf being installed in West Nile, yet during the dry spell, we have one of the highest temperatures, and there's always grass withering. So artificial turf with high temperatures causes players severe injuries. That's one of the points people are trying to raise up. But like you said, we are going to have Aita Joel one of these days. If in case he responds to our call, we'll have him live on West Nile Sports to answer some of these questions. How the small clubs are going to manage to play over there. Is it only something to collect money from the outlets? Is football not taken serious in that perspective? How about the artificial turf? Which grade is that? Because the KCC artificial turf is different from the Vipers artificial turf.
Yeah.
So all these differences will be got from Aita Joel. Let's get some of the messages that were sent by the viewers. Like I told you, it will be taken into consideration. So many of you sent messages. There is Tini Tai. He has sent a message here on the comment slot on our posts. Like, how old is Tiziche Lawrence, the one playing for Busoga United? I'm yet to understand. He's 19 years old. He was promoted from the junior team of Busoga United. Then there is Peter Ludule, is like Meanwhile, it seems like you people have forgotten about. Oh, the quiz is still there. We shall get back to that. We only had other things to fix up. It's like time given for you people is very little. Oh, this one goes to the management. They say the time for the sports show is too small, that it needs to be increased. We shall work on that. And then Jack Sabit says, who is your best player in the Uganda Premier League and why? Oh, best player in Uganda Premier League, I would pick Gift Ali. That's to me.
It's a very strong question, because if you look at the Uganda Premier League, the entire season, quite a number of players stood up for their respective clubs. The champions are Vipers. Ordinarily, someone will think the best player probably has to come from there. But if you look at individual brilliance of certain personalities in the Uganda Premier League, particularly for this season, you probably will go in for a player who actually stood up for a club. So my contenders for this season, personal contenders, had Stephen Muchola, who played for Maroons on loan from Vipers. Yes. Then I had Gift Ali Gigi as well from KCCA. Then I looked at Ndahiro, that player.
Ndahiro, the left back of AC Villa.
Exactly, for AC Villa. He has been fantastic throughout the season. I think he's one of the reasons as to why AC Villa are in the top 4. Yeah. Then I also looked at the goalkeeper for Vipers. There is Fabian Mutumbora. He has been fantastic. But all in all, if I go in by the statistics and as well personal contribution to the teams, I think KCCA have been so much carried by Gift Ali Gigi. I think probably I'll give it to him.
So West Nile Sports, Himnas, Otelul, Saits, Gift Ali. Let's move to the next message. Is coming from West B. The African Voice is like, is there any player who scored 2 own goals in a single World Cup match? If yes, who and where is he? I don't so much remember a player scoring 2 own goals. The first own goal I watched in the 2018 World Cup was scored striker. It was Mario Mandzukic. Yeah. He scored an own goal against France. Daniel Aga scored an own goal for Denmark. Fernandinho scored an own goal for Brazil, I remember so well. Marcelo's even scored own goal. But from the men's section, not someone scoring twice in a single World Cup. Maybe Women's World Cup, where Angie Pons of Ecuador scored against France in 2015, scored 2 own goals against France in the Women's World Cup 2015. So from that, we have not seen from the men's side scoring 2 own goals in the same match. Let's go to Alel Rapson. Is like, we appreciate the efforts of introducing West Nile Sports to the world of sports. Thank you very much. And remember, also arts are covering this. You as well need to thank them. They do have a karaoke. You need to follow them and watch their karaoke.
It's every Wednesday?
Yes, every Wednesday. The beautiful work is coming from them as well. Tyler, Kunde, blah, 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 Dranix, the guy in red.
The Lassen himself.
Lassen himself, plus the guy in red. Alan Shearer is like, is it true that Gadino and Babazi are coming back to Ontoparaka FC?
It's a very strong rumor. It's a very strong rumor. It's circulating all over. Even yesterday, some of the local outlets, media outlets were talking about it. Exactly, probably. You will be the best to explain that. But for now, I think you will not be in position to do that, because I strongly believe it's a rumor. So unless if you're ready to indulge in that rumor.
It's the pandemic. So many things are going on ground, but the management is yet to sit to decide what happens. If it materializes, I will always let you know. West Nile Sports will always let you know. Prince Welby is like, thanks for giving us the opportunity for us to share some few things. To me, first of all, I'm suggesting you should get us T-shirt and caps with the names of West Nile Sports, so that they should be well branded and stuff like this. One goes to the management of West Nile Sports. This is going to be done, my brother. Then there is Bontano. It's like Bontano Jomesias. It's like, let me say thank God and efforts of you guys for establishing West Nile Sports. Then it's like everything is possible. I would like to ask whether Manchester United will sign a big shot player and Pogba's future at Manchester United. I think from here we are shifting to international sports. We shall answer him in the Manchester United transfer. Then Abdul Razak Isco. He's like, I'm Isco from Moyo. Oh, greetings to everyone in Moyo. I want to know something about the player I love most in Uganda. That's Disani Galiwango and his proposed move to KCCA. Secondly, about City's ban because of Manchester City fans, since the hearing was concluded on Wednesday before the ruling is finally announced in mid-July, like they have said. Do you people see any possibility of City to escape that? Greetings to you, Kim Naz and Nyamwa Walter. The guy has sent you greetings. So let's talk about Disani Galwango. Some sources say it was delayed because maybe Mutebi is not a coach who signs players with huge sum of money.
I strongly believe KCC has a reason for going to that is Disani Galiwango, because Mustafa Chise is a one-away man. He's not defender for Express. He is again the captain who has been played more of as a fullback, left fullback. So that is where I think KCCA's major aim is to replace him. But I can confirm to you, just yesterday on his Twitter handle, that is Disani Galiwango's personal Twitter handle, he did clearly state that he has one more season to play for Express. That to me rules out the chance of him leaving the Mutesatu Stadium Guangtrokuko outfit, that is Express Football Club. So KCCA definitely will need to look elsewhere.
We'll summarize with international sports. First of all, we start with Chelsea. There's been talks about Timo Werner leaving RB Leipzig, trying to join Chelsea. And some tabloids, some papers, and some journalists have said it's 80% a done deal. In case, like, people are saying, like, speculations are moving around, if Timo Werner joins Chelsea, what does he bring for Chelsea?
Thank you very much. There's a lot that Timo Werner will probably bring in for Chelsea Football Club. One is the goal that he's going to be scoring for Chelsea Football Club. We have known him for being that striker who will love to penetrate from the left-hand side or even run from the right-hand flank. But then at the end of the day, push that ball at the back of the net. If you look at what Willian has been doing for Chelsea Football Club, and now that he's running out of contract, probably was going to be leaving at Chelsea Football Club. So they need that player who will come in and carry the team the way Eden Hazard did 4 seasons back. So I think Chelsea were right to go for a player of Timo Werner's caliber. For RB Leipzig, he has been that main man, scoring goals for fun, doing here. They, of course, rubbing shoulders. And Bayern Munich actually came in. They also wanted him. Then some few other clubs even came, including Borussia Dortmund even showed interest. Inter Milan showed interest. Then Paris Saint-Germain showed interest. But if Chelsea goes on to break the bank and get a player of Timo Werner's caliber, I think it's quite going to be a very big move for them. And to me, I think he brings a lot of things. One is the leadership skills. He's a leader. In him, there's always that player who will want to make the other players to actually motivate the rest of the players to make sure they do it. We all saw it against that is Tottenham Hotspur, another London club within the UEFA Champions League when they ejected Chelsea. Tottenham Hotspur. So that sent a message that Timo Werner is a leader. Then he's a goal scorer. We all agree to that. He brings a lot. And if you look at Frank Lampard's project, you will think that Frank Lampard is looking towards players below 25. So Timo Werner, to me, also fits in that bracket.
The questions are maybe now, will he bench Abraham is what people are asking. There's something that Abraham has got different from Timo Werner. Abraham is kind of a gigantic tall player who can hold up the game, and he's very good in the air. Interestingly, Timo Werner at RB has been playing as a twin striker with a man called Patrick Schick, which means Patrick Schick has a similar playing style to that is Abraham, meaning that Timo Werner is capable of playing as a twin striker in case that one happens. And he can also break from the wings, which will give an advantage. But this could be a direct ticket for Michy Batshuayi to leave Chelsea and move to another club. I'm yet to understand that Crystal Palace are interested. We have not confirmed that Timo Werner's transfer to Chelsea. We are talking in the perspective of speculations and tabloids. Thank you very much. Let's say a quick one about Manchester United. Someone was saying the possibility of Kalidou Koulibaly joining Manchester United. In 1 minute, how do you summarize that?
In summary, Manchester United needs another player, more especially a central defender, to partner, that is Harry Maguire. They signed Harry Maguire for a lot of money, of course, £80 million from Leicester City, and he stood out. I think the last 3-4 seasons, people discovered that there was no player in that central defender. If you talk about the ones United had, the likes of Phil Jones, whom Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has termed as rotten apple, you definitely know that he actually wanted to make sure he seals that back line. So they already have a very good right full back. They have a very good left full back. So they only need the central defense being fixed. So if they already have Harry
Which
Maguire,
player to then support Harry Maguire? To partner
exactly.
Harry Maguire.
So Victor Lindelof moving out will mean Kalidou Koulibaly has to come in. But then, is United ready to pay that money? And if Kalidou Koulibaly comes to United, which position is he going to play? Is he going to be the number 4 or the number 5? That becomes a little bit confusing because you have a certain Harry Maguire who thinks he has to be the number 5. Then you will have a Kalidou Koulibaly who can do the dirty work and play as a number 4, and he as well can play as a number 5. So I think that is where the rumor of Kalidou Koulibaly being linked with the move to United becomes a little bit realistic to me.
Manchester United, some say, is Odion Ighalo, whom they can rely on. Sometimes Marcus Rashford tries, but, you know, the consistency is not there. Antoine Martial comes in, he scores goals, but the consistency of Antoine Martial has not been the highest. You get a feeling Ighalo is only temporary for some period of time that he will be performing or scoring goals for Manchester United. You get a feeling Manchester United as well do need a striker. In the midfield department, they don't need to talk about any player in this world. To me, Manchester United have the best midfield composition in the world. Not even Real Madrid, not even Barcelona, not even Bayern. It's Manchester United. Quick one, 1 minute about Arsenal. How can they get fixed up?
There's a lot. Arsenal's issues start with the managerial perspective. Of course, from managerial issues, they still have no transfer kitties being talked about. And remember, the clubs, we all know that the European clubs have been hit so hard with the COVID-19 effect. But for at least some few clubs have talked about the transfer budget, the transfer kitty that they are going to be spending. But the Arsenal bosses, you talk about that is Stan Kroenke has never talked about any figure to be given out to Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta is going to be given a task of going into the market, bring players on loan like they did in the previous transfer window. They all do swap deals. Now some of the players, even the defenders for Arsenal Football Club, have been linked with the moves away. Just a few days back, Hector Bellerin is being linked with the move to Inter Milan. £27 million is the figure they're talking about, which means they will need to first sell in order to accumulate money to bring in players. They talked about Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva at the age of 35 for Paris Saint-Germain. Why would you bring a player of Thiago Silva's caliber to play? He's a very good player, we all know, but catching up with the age. He's already in the previous or the evening hours of his career. Why would you have Thiago Silva for Arsenal Football Club? And we all know the physicality of the English Premier League. I think for Arsenal,
it's like they're trying to dwell on crisis management. How they are patch holes.
Their transfers alone, to me, are already signaling that they are a club without ambition. Trust me.
I thank you very much for watching West Nile Sports. This is the 3rd edition. Don't miss the 4th edition. We keep bringing you interesting things. Probably in the next Friday, we'll be dwelling much on the boxing and unveiling what's happening in our area, because this was an area once known for boxing. Where is it all? Can we pick it back? Oh, it's already at the climax. It's something we will let you know. Thank you very much. We are here at Electra, like I told you before, and big ups to Oswa Arts and everyone who watched it. Thank you very much. Catch you again next Friday.
Kwesheba with the band in another feeling. Nessie production bed. Tuchukube fubi. Makota era nagalale. Mr. Ruba ya make my day. Lava o bandi. Kera ofasi. Bugiranga farako sitemogamu. Kubulungi wala bikasasula bangi mutya asina bwala komumiri walwayo risuwa mchikiri lwatasimbire kana yamaso gegenota mubiri bend down low slow you bend my heart jagala musingane owulira bangalo binkolera buli kyakola kinkolera birabina binkolera byayogera binkolera arankolera ibyakoze byose byera
We better know. Them call me Arrow Boy. To the V. Yeah. Kwani Mungu alikuumba na material gani we? Ndani ya mishipa zako kuna damu gani yo? Una roho safi na kama pamba. Napenda unavyonipapasa. Unavutia usiku na mchana wewe. You are my better half. Keep it down low, you are my full stop. Now I'm a better man. Before I met you, I was a bad man. When you live on your juicy, come do it again. Chewa kwa luli, come do it again. Embe dodo, yangu embe dodo, embe dodo, yangu embe dodo, embe dodo.
I the thank God say Baba God no be mana no be. I the thank God say Baba God no be mana. Na so they go open their mouth she bada. But they go undo, cause they know say they girl she they hot like fire. Yeah, how they take no, I mean they be take no, bana. Hallelujah, yeah, like what they do, yeah, hallelujah, yeah. Now so she just got on the floor, killing the show. Hallelujah, yeah, now only God they do, yeah, hallelujah. Yeah. I see my baby fire. I say she fire. Cause today I need it. Oh yeah, where is my DJ? Make it put them for replay. I see my baby fire. I say she fire. Cause today I need it. Oh yeah, where is my DJ? Make it put them for replay. I see my baby fire. I say she fire. Hallelujah. Yeah, I got to do. Yeah, hallelujah. Yeah. So she just got on the floor, killing me. way. Get right be do to tea. Tuna meta chishinto machi. Na ukitaka pesa, I got it on me. Atunanga pressure, you know who we be. Now everybody get up, hands in the air, say get up, put them up everywhere. Get up, everybody get up. I go by OG number better. I wanna get you high, but you not take it, so I'll take it slow. You and after touch the sky, this later I can take you home. My 10 years remember what y'all be lost. Hey, goes about we keep it relaxed. Speed when you look into the mirror.
Your place me make rock as a pony. Your place like I'm from Casaboni. And your place in Anino. I'm out to do anytime. Your left.
Don't mind me meaning a stay. Or your left. This way you gon' find me every day. Or your left. I will not care what they say. Your booty like bees, caterpillar. You're the one for me, mamma mia. You hide me like Sensimilla. Yeah, your body make it rude boy Shiva. Baby girl, you know, say me I got it all paro. And I'm that straight kind of nigga. I tell you all straight up, you're the bum. Yeah, you rock my jack. Your body language now, make my body cool, Your love is enough, yeah, you rock my jack. Yeah, you rock my jack. Your body language now, make my body cool, Your love is enough, yeah, you rock my jack. I am down, out everyone. I am down, for serious one. I am down, no PC, but being yours.
You know you gotta do this. Now show me quarantine. Quarantine moves, yes, quarantine. Now what's your quarantine? Quarantine moves, yes, quarantine. On the left, to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5. Nay, and that's right. Do the wacko jacko, now slap. Show me quarantine moves, yes, quarantine. Now what's your quarantine? Quarantine moves, yes, quarantine.